welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. We are glad you joined us. I am joined in the Hilltop Studios by...
I'm a Surefire.
And...
Uncle Bocce.
Uncle Bocce. Full house, ready to go, rock and roll. Mm-hmm. The name of tonight's show is, as we say in Texas, Mo Alamo. We're going to dig a little deeper, just a little bit, into the Alamo, and remember the Alamo, and we will tell you why we are doing that in conjunction with Uncle Bocce's stepping us through presidential history. Right?
That's right.
Okay. We are all over the social media as Doc Owen Show, DocOwenShow. Love to have you as a Twitter follower of @Doc Owen Show. You can go to our Facebook page and you can like us there. You can find us on a bunch of other social media, but those are the two primary ones that we use. And we have a wonderful blog by the name of DocOwenShow.com.
Imagine that.
Uncle Bocce uses for his historical repository. So everything that you don't hear on the air is, as well as what you do hear on the air, is backed up by very valid information. And Bocce's pretty diligent about putting the articles out there, giving the references, giving links, et cetera, et cetera. So if he strikes a chord, something you'd like to know more about, go to DocOwenShow.com and follow the blinking lights to the history page. You can also go there to listen to the podcast, and you can, in the upper right-hand corner of the DocOwenShow.com, you can sign up for our intermittent email list. And I say that because we really don't abuse it. We rarely even take advantage of it. When we have a special guest on or we have something special going on, we're real good about informing Doc Owen Show insiders. Other than that, we sort of leave you alone and expect you to just find us on your happy internet radio dial. We also have apps, free apps, on both the iPhone and the Android. Go to your respective store, search for Doc Owen Show, download the app. You will then have access to all of our historical, now that they become podcasts after they're a live broadcast, they become what's called a podcast. And if you don't know what that means, it stands for Play on Demand. That's what the POD in CAST stands for. So you can play it on demand, 10 minutes at a time, 15 minutes at a time, or listen to the entire show. It's all up to you. So after those the front-end, very self-serving announcements, those are basically our advertising for the show. So now we are free to expound and expand and converse. We are on Spreaker. If you're listening to us live on a Thursday night, then you're on Spreaker.com, or you can go to Spreaker.com and interact with us via the chat window. Ms. Surefire is standing ready to use her nimble fingers and respond, as well as tell us if you've got a question or some point of a concern. So we'd love to hear from you.
Please do.
So now we begin the show in a very traditional manner, other than what that was, and that is Ima gives us a inspirational quote. Uncle Bocce gives us an incident or event or something interesting that happened at this day and time in history. Then I close that out with a leadership quote or something having to do with it. So, Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And as usual, tonight's quote comes from brainyquote.com. That's BRAINY quote.com. And tonight's quote comes from a gentleman that all of us should know.
Santa Claus.
Well,
Mickey Mouse?
Those are very good, but no.
Okay.
Actually, it's Benjamin Franklin.
Absolutely.
Yay! Good old Ben.
Yep.
Ben, as some would call him, was one of the founding fathers of the United States of America.
Among other things, but yes, he was.
Oh, yeah, he was a lot of things. That's
Yes.
right.
Oof, he worked hard.
And his quote is, "Some people die at the age of 25 and aren't buried until the age of 75.
I think I just got a call relative to that.
Die at the
Some
age of
people
25.
die at 25, at the age of 25, but aren't buried until the age of 75.
That means like they've just checked out of here and
Yep,
they're just
they're done.
functioning like zombies.
That's it. And you would know he would
Oh, I
observe
got you
that
now.
because that certainly was not what we know of Ben Franklin.
Sure.
Uncle Botsy, thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Emma. Good job.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Good. What do you got? What happened?
Okay, tonight, November 16th,
Yep.
in 1907, we got another state to join the Union, the 46th state, which was Oklahoma.
Oklahoma didn't come in till 46?
That's correct.
Wow.
It was originally Indian territory, and they split it up between Oklahoma Territory and Indian Territory. Eventually, it became a state, and they. But this goes right hand in hand with where we are in history too. Well, not 1907, but back to when they were actually forming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when they had the land rush and all of that.
Yeah,
kind
it took
of
the
stuff.
bureaucrats a while to get them approved.
Yeah.
Okay. Our quote tonight is from my friends at the Optimist Club, and it's kind of relevant to the subject of the Alamo. It says, I love, and this is from Thomas Paine. I didn't look up who
Yeah.
Thomas Paine was, but it sounds familiar.
Sounds
Yeah.
familiar, yeah.
I think we did a whole show on him.
Okay.
I think my mom has a neighbor with that name too.
Okay.
I think that's Thomas the Paine.
No, I think it's like pain, like
Yeah.
spelled different.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I love men who can smile in trouble, who can gather strength from distress and grow brave by reflection.
That's a good,
Good.
one. I like
Defenders
that.
of the Alamo.
I like that.
Right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
There you go.
So, Uncle Bocce,
Yes, sir.
we've sort of already told them what the show is about, which I normally do. We may weave in a few current events. But preceding that, would you be so kind as to give us a bit of a lesson on one of our former presidents?
Absolutely.
I mean, I hate to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about tonight?
We're talking about Martin Van Buren.
Who? How
He
dull
was
can-
the
how
president? I
dull-
thought he made a
President?
shirt.
Man,
Oh, no, that's Van
every time
Heusen.
you hear his right, every time you hear his name, you think you're in a flock of owls.
That or your flock of Dutchmen. That's what he was.
Okay, Van Buren.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so who's next after Van Buren? That was good about Van Buren.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
William Henry Harrison.
Okay, who's next? Okay,
After
let's say
that's
something
John
about Van.
Tyler. You want to go on?
I know there was a whole there was a whole generation of them
Kinda
that were
quiet.
like Casper Milk Toast, you know.
Yeah.
But they were
Yeah.
president of the United States. So what did Mr. Van Buren bring us? That was good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, yes, and that it was. The man had an IQ of 133.35. He was educated in early school at the Kinderhook Academy, which actually still exists.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Where?
It exists in New York on the Hudson, in the Hudson Valley somewhere. That's
Okay.
where he was born and raised, and they just happen to have an academy there.
Wow.
So his full name is Martin Van Buren. He is of Dutch extraction. In fact, his first language was Dutch.
Okay.
However, he was the very first president who was actually born in the United States of America. All these other presidents were born in what would become states, but they were born before they became the United States. So he's legitimately the first one.
Interesting.
And
That
yeah,
is interesting.
yeah, yeah. Some of his
So back up a minute.
yeah.
So what
So-
the birth certificate say, right?
Yeah. So these guys that were before Van Buren, they were still operating under the same constitution.
Sure. Yeah.
So they were natural born
Right.
Americans.
Yes.
Is what is I mean.
Right.
How did that work? How does that work? I mean, they were Americans, but America was not the United States of America.
That's correct.
Do you see?
But,
do you see
yeah, I
I'm getting
understand
at?
what you're saying.
That's
should have been keen to that, but I'm not.
It's a, sorry about that.
That's okay.
We need to get to the bottom of it because that's kind of curious.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we created a Constitution, and the Constitution in the Constitution it talks. Does it talk about the President of the United States and who can run for office, or where is
Yes,
that?
it does. That's in the Constitution. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And they have to be a natural born
Article 2.
citizen.
Yeah. Article 2 of the Constitution. Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, that'll be a good topic for
That's
discussion.
kind of a little
I'll have
nuanced.
to look that up.
Okay.
I will. I'm sorry, I don't have
No,
that.
that's good. That's all right. Okay.
Now, by some, he was known as the Machiavellian Belshazzar.
Okay,
What?
you're going to have to
What's
explain
that?
both of those
Well,
words.
it wasn't.
First.
It was not meant to be a compliment.
No.
It was given to Van Buren by his detractors for his insincerity in political matters. And from what I understand and study, that was really not Martin. That was not the Martin Van Buren.
Are these the same people that slapped you across the face with their gloves?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's why they called him that. A Machiavellian what?
Belshazzar.
All right. Do we know
They
what
don't-
either one of those words mean?
Belshazzar is an ancient name for some Sumerian king or somebody back there. Nebuchadnezzar. and
I
all
like
those.
the Texas term for it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
son of a bitch.
Anyway. Okay, this is important. The party affiliation was Democratic.
Okay.
Okay?
After he's following on the footsteps
Of Andrew Jackson.
a Republican.
Yeah. We just really didn't do justice to Andrew Jackson. We could have gone on with him for a long time, but the stuff's out there, so you guys go ahead and
We may
look at it
come back
yourself.
to him going through the next two or
We
three.
may.
They're kind
we
of
may.
boring.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was from New York. He was 5'6". His religion was Christian, the Dutch Reformed flavor.
Okay.
Okay, obviously he was Dutch.
Yep.
He was born on December 5th, 1782, in Kinderhook, of all places.
Yeah.
Okay, and he died in 1862.
In
and he's
Kinderhook,
born.
probably.
Yep, his resting place is in Kinderhook Cemetery, Kinderhook, New York. Imagine that.
Who knew?
Okay, he had 4 children.
I can't believe I went to New York so many times. I don't think I've ever been through Kinderhook.
Yeah, right. It's up there. It's near Albany, but it's on the Hudson River. And
Right.
of course, that was all Dutch territory at one time. Anyway, okay.
That's where West Point is.
The age when he took office was 54 years and 2 months.
Okay.
So he was a little bit younger
Yeah.
than some of the others.
Yep.
He held several different offices. He was New York State Senator, New York Attorney General, United States Senator, Governor of New York, Secretary of State under Jackson.
Wow.
Yes, which was an incredible combination, the two of them.
Sure.
And he was minister to England, and he was also the vice president under Jackson. Okay?
So he was extremely qualified.
Yes,
But you-
from
you-
the political
Right.
sense, and I
Right.
emphasize political, and you'll see why.
Right.
Okay? Salary.
Well, and when you say political, I would submit also the bureaucratic. In other words, the governmental side of his qualifications
It's the same thing,
should
isn't it?
be good. No.
In my mind, it's
Let-
all the same.
Let me think about it. No.
Yeah, okay. His salary is $25,000, just like all the others,
Right.
which adjusted today is $590,000.
Man.
Man, we used to pay these guys good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Like we don't today.
he married a woman by the name of Hannah,
Yeah.
and the election of 1836.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
big election.
Okay. Why?
Okay, because all right. First of all, you need 131 electoral votes to win out of 261. There were no more new states under his presidency.
Okay.
Okay, so basically there were 2 people running.
That's because Jackson had gobbled them all up for a while.
And yeah, exactly. Martin Van Buren of course, Democrat. He was from New York. He won the election over William Henry Harrison,
Okay. Yep.
who actually ended up becoming the next president.
Who would produce a comeback? Right.
That's correct.
So
Okay.
Van Buren was a Democrat. Mm-hmm. But he was
In the tradition of Jackson
Oh, that's where
and a
that's-
little bit of Jefferson.
Okay.
Yeah, that those were his
Because he served as vice president to Jackson, who was not a Democrat.
in
Was
his
he?
first term, right?
Okay.
In his second term, he was a Democrat.
Jackson was?
Yeah. Well, Jackson, the Democratic Party actually formed around Andrew Jackson.
Oh.
Okay?
Wow.
Not
Yeah.
because
You
he
told
did
us that
something
last
wonderful
week.
to create it, but it just formed.
It just happened.
Yeah, it just happened because they were backing Jackson.
Okay.
Okay, so he won. Martin Van Buren won with 170 electoral votes.
Wow.
Yes.
It's almost
To
exact
Harrison's 73. And there were a couple others who ran as well. The campaign and election of 1840, sorry to say, he did not win. But we'll talk about that next week when we talk about William Henry Harrison.
Right. So,
Okay.
yeah, because he was a one-term. Van
He
Buren
was a
one-term
one
president.
term, and we'll find out why.
Okay.
Okay? Now, his cabinet, he didn't add anything new to the cabinet. It's still the same six: Secretary of State, Treasury, War, Attorney General, Secretary of Navy, and Postmaster.
Okay.
Okay? The Postmaster being raised to a level of cabinet by Andrew Jackson. Now, here are some interesting points about Van Buren. He was the first president, like I said before, to be born in the United States. All previous presidents were born before the United States became a country, although all were born in places that became the United States.
Okay.
Okay? His autobiography, here's something really interesting. His autobiography does not mention his wife once at all. No mention of his wife whatsoever. She died early, though. She died before he did, way before he. In fact, she died before he became president.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, they have 4 kids.
Oh.
Van Buren took his pay, $25,000 a year for 4 years, in a lump sum of $100,000 when he left office, and I believe that he actually took that money and donated it somewhere. I don't know where, but
To his
Okay.
to his alma mater kindergarten in Kinder Art, or wherever it was.
yeah, Kinderhook.
Hook.
Right. And interesting that today would be the birthday of Oklahoma, because when you think of Oklahoma, you think of the song Oklahoma, okay, right?
Oklahoma is okay. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
right.
Well, do you know that the term okay was popularized because of Martin Van Buren? He was from Kinderhook, New York, sometimes referred to as Old Kinderhook in speeches and print. OK Club soon formed and eventually became to mean all right. That's where it came from, Old Kinderhook. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
Not
okay,
really.
I get it.
No,
Yeah.
And now, actually, Van Buren tried 3 different times unsuccessfully for his reelection.
Van Buren did.
Van Buren, yeah, he continued to be in.
Well, he was a young guy.
Yeah,
And what else are you going to do in Kinderhook? You run for office?
yeah, exactly. I mean, gee whiz.
You only had a school.
Okay, he had 2 Supreme Court nominations, and he had District Court 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 appointments to the district courts. No circuit court.
He had 2 Supreme Court nominations.
2, yes.
Wow.
They
Okay.
aren't names that you would know.
No, not that
But
far back.
anyway,
We
yeah.
don't know his name.
Yeah. Okay, now let's dive into a little bit of his domestic policy. He closely followed the policies of Andrew Jackson,
Okay.
and he was the organizer of the Jacksonian Democratic Party.
Okay.
So even though the Democratic Party formed around Andrew Jackson, okay, it was Martin Van Buren who organized it and got it off the ground.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So that's okay. So he advocated lower tariffs, free trade, to pleasure of the South, pandering, maybe,
Yeah,
a little bit, and set up a system of bonds for the national debt. National debt actually killed him. Not even killed him, I mean, not literally.
His political career.
Yeah. It started it was all to do with the bank.
Right.
Jackson was so anti-bank. He did some things that put our money in the states because he didn't want to have a federal bank.
Right.
Well, that created a situation where, and poor Martin Van Buren had to handle it, where it led to states taking all this government money
Right.
and using it as collateral to make loans to people. So it was free money. That's what the states did, okay? So this created the Panic of 1837 and led to a 5-year depression.
Yeah.
Bank failures, record unemployment levels, and the whole bit.
Under Van Buren.
Under Van Buren. This all happened under Van Buren, okay? He made a proposal to correct all this called the Independent Treasury because he wanted to set up a treasury, that was independent. But he could not convince Congress to go along with him. It wasn't until 4 years later, in 1840, when they finally passed that. Indians were very important at this time, okay? There was something called the Trail of Tears. And what was happening because of Jackson, they wanted to enforce the Indian Removal Act, so they tried to remove the Cherokees who resisted from Mississippi, Alabama area.
Sure.
They resisted very, very hard. They didn't want to leave their homes, of course, So what ended up happening is he forced them to, and they went to Oklahoma.
Van Buren did.
Yeah.
Well, that's a stark
But
difference.
what happened? Yeah. But
Stark
what happened
difference
to
in existence between Mississippi and Alabama. Lush, green.
to Oklahoma.
To Oklahoma.
But what ended up happening in the Trail of Tears, that all those Cherokees died on
Yeah.
their way.
Wow.
They all died.
Yeah.
The whole kit and caboodle of them.
Wow.
Texas was important too. Did you know, this might be something that goes in with your Alamo thing, did you know that under his administration, they denied Texas formal request to join the United States in 1837?
Yes.
So Texas is already chomping at the bit. They wanted to be a state.
Well, they wanted the protection
They wanted, exactly.
because they wanted the protection.
Yep. So they didn't. Van Buren didn't think that would be good for sectional harmony in the nation. How far are we? Let's see.
Keep going.
Yeah.
It's all
Okay.
good.
Now that's pretty much the
Okay.
end all of his domestic policy.
It's kind of difficult to stretch out a real good, lively conversation about Martin Van Buren.
Yeah, but
I mean-
when we get to the point of what his legacy was, you'll understand what the importance of I'll get to it in a minute. His
Okay.
foreign policy, there was a war, was an undeclared war between Britain and United States, another one,
Yeah.
because of the border between Canada and Maine and New York and all that.
Okay, yeah.
And so there was a semi-war, but nobody ever came to blows about it. And they finally did.
So it was a war of words.
Yeah, they did settle it,
Yeah.
and Maine got the borders that it has now. Now, soon after taking office, he faced a diplomatic crisis, and that's what this thing with Great Britain was.
Okay.
Okay, so that was a diplomatic crisis, and it grew, like I said, tensions between Americans and Canadians and the British. Now, his impact and legacy, and this is what he is going to be remembered for.
Okay.
Okay? When assessing the impact and legacy of Martin Van Buren, scholars generally split him in two places, two
Okay.
distinctions. Between Buren's presidency, which they often judge lacking
Yeah.
and troubled,
Yeah.
and it was.
It
His
sounds like it.
presidency was very troubled.
Yeah.
Okay? However, his contributions to the development of the American political system
Were strong.
were singular and significant.
Well, okay. I mean, I would say both of those obviously both those assessments are good. I mean, his president Andrew Jackson was a tough act to follow.
Oh, he was.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's face it. So, and he cut a pretty wide swath. No pun intended, with what he did with the Indians, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, he didn't leave a lot of bridges behind when he was doing what he was doing in Van Buren, which we will probably find in other presidencies, that when you're coming behind a president like that, the guy coming behind tends to have a difficult job.
Yeah.
Who followed Ronald Reagan?
Unfortunately.
Who?
Senior Bush.
How long? How many? I'm trying to connect dots to current day. And how many terms did he serve?
One.
And he got himself in trouble for "Read My Lips."
For not only that,
well,
he did. Well,
But
that's when we get there.
But you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand exactly what you're saying.
Andrew Jackson was a tough act to follow. So Van Buren, and yet, while Andrew Jackson was in office, he built an entire political party.
Andrew Jackson did
Van
not.
Buren built
Van
an
Buren.
entire political party,
Right, even during
around the popularity of his boss.
Jackson. Yeah, correct. You're absolutely right. That's what he did.
So that's why
and by most accounts, he's considered probably the most important politician in American history.
Well, I was reinforcing what you said with the two angles that the scholars went down.
Okay.
This is all I was doing.
Okay, coming off of Jackson,
Yep.
I'll just say this, and then we can go move on.
Okay.
The party after Jackson was beset by factionalism. They were fighting with one another, vicious infighting, and by a lack of organizational and ideological unity. It was Van Buren who brought all this together. And next week actually, I don't really have that much more to go. But
so the Democrats need to look for another Van Buren. Today.
Yeah, but when you go, we'll see next week. When you go into what the principles of the formation of the Democratic Party were, they weren't all that bad.
Oh, I know.
But they're nothing in comparison to what it is today.
Well,
not at all.
Neither are Republicans.
Neither are Republicans. None of them.
Both parties have been hijacked.
Yes.
From what they were originally. That's a given, and probably through this discourse about the presidencies that talk, learning about politics instead of complaining about politics.
Right.
We'll have an opportunity to understand how we got to where we are today.
Yes.
And the only way we're going to be able to correct it is to understand how we got here in the first place, right?
Yeah. So next week we'll talk a little bit more about Martin, but I think we'll also try to get in William Henry Harrison because he had a very short.
Did you notice what Uncle Bocce just did?
What?
He was so nondescript that you referred to him by his first name.
Did I?
Yeah.
Martin?
Yeah.
I said Martin?
Yeah.
Wow. See, I lived back then. I knew him well.
Probably so.
I'm telling
You probably like the guy.
Probably would. He was a very likable guy, but just couldn't get along with Congress, like John Quincy couldn't. I am Uncle Bocce, UNCLEBACI. Almost forgot how to spell it, at DocOwenShow.com. Send me your cards and letters. Send me whatever. If you don't like what I'm talking about, just tell me.
Thank you, Uncle Bocce.
Good job.
Keep doing it. But
I know.
Go ahead.
We're heading down this path no matter what. We are now going to take a very brief, non-commercial, 30-second replay
Yay.
of our hip-hop razzmatazz intro song, and we will be right back. Thank you very much. It gives us a chance to have a little sip of water and clear our throats and get ready for the next half. I was reminded during the break by Ms. Surefire that next Thursday, and you know,
That's right.
I've been complaining. I don't understand it. I mean, every year this comes up on show night.
Every year.
I mean,
The nerve, right?
really?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm telling you.
we get an occasional. We get stepped on by the NBA. We get stepped on by the NFL. We get stepped on by this event or that event. But on an annual basis, this one event is on show night every cotton picking year.
I'm
Yep.
telling you.
That's
Thanksgiving. I can't. You know, there's something's got to be done. Write your congressman, folks.
I say move it to Friday. Be a Thanksgiving weekend.
I think most workers like having it on Thursday.
Yeah,
then
because then
they-
they would
most
go,
of them get Friday.
that's
So
right.
you got a 4-day weekend
Yeah.
going on there. We have a Thanksgiving tradition that started 5 years ago. The first year that we were on the air, I did a research project into a lot of scholarly research on the holiday of Thanksgiving, what it's about, how it actually came about, a real historical perspective. And rather than recreate, we simply rebroadcast. So we will not be live next week, but we will be on the air. We will do our annual Thanksgiving history perspective, because and you are more than welcome to either listen to it as it is. It'll be played live, just as it at the set regular time, but it'll be also be out there as the podcast.
There you go.
Because we know that, or we don't know, but we assume and encourage the fact that Thanksgiving is the beginning. It's like the very first little tip of an entire 5 or 6 week season when we really sort of need to change our attitudes, adjust our attitudes, be more forgiving, be more involved, be more trustworthy, be more of all these things we'd really like to be all year long. And then, come and try this year, make yourself a real solid effort to make it last. Oh, shoot, wait, like January the 10th before you go back to being your normal attitudinal self. So we will kick it off with our usual Thanksgiving non-live but history show.
Don't eat too much turkey, people.
So, and 5 years
Makes
ago
us
was
sleepy.
before Uncle Bocce, so we will not have any more. We won't have a presidential conversation next week either.
Right.
So you'll just have to wonder what we're going to close with about Martin Van Buren. Okay. Is that good?
I
That's
think
good.
that works out.
Okay. Any current events we want to take up before we dive into the Alamo? Uncle Bocce we were sitting over the dinner table, which is another tradition, before we have the show, we break bread. And he was making a list and ran out of paper of all of the scandals that are out there. He was trying to keep track of all the
The restaurant didn't have no more paper.
they ran out of
That's
paper.
right.
They ran out
And
of paper.
they asked us
Blew
to,
my mind.
well, they asked us to leave when he started writing on the tablecloth.
Yeah, that's true. So you leave now.
And so why would we? It's just they're so preposterous,
They are.
and
It's a diversion.
it is. It's more. It's an aggravation, is what it is.
It is.
You
It
know?
is. It is.
And
And it's, again, one of those. Never mind. Go ahead.
no,
No, it's just one of those things that politicians use to divert us from what really is at issue, like tax reform, which really isn't tax reform, but I'm not going to get into that.
do you see what happened today?
Yeah, they passed it.
Passed what? The tax
The
reform.
tax reform in the
Well,
House.
the House did.
Yeah, the House
But did you see what?
No Democratic votes at all. 13 Republicans went with the Democrats.
But did you see what else happened?
No.
The Senate passed unanimously.
Oh,
What?
yeah, go ahead.
the House
I know where you're
bill for the defense budget.
Oh.
$700 billion they passed, and it is on
I
its
didn't
way
know
to
about
the
that.
president.
I thought you were going to something
And
else.
both Republicans and Democrats were talking about it was necessary for the defense of the country and yada, 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 yada.
Wow, an issue that brought Democrats and Republicans together?
And
How rare.
And something that the president campaigned on.
How rare. Yeah.
Wow. You
But
ever
I
he's-
did
felt
not know that. That's
like everybody
great.
was holding hands or something.
Yeah, so
huh?
he's doing pretty good for a white supremacist fascist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd get-
You know what else they passed?
No. I don't think, I mean, what?
It's
Yeah.
an anti-harassment bill that requires all Congress and Senate to go through harassment training. Now, it should be anti-harassment training, but they're going to go through harassment training.
It's like a
This is our Congress. And instead of telling us who these idiots are that are doing it, they're going to just pass them through. Yeah. Anyway, that's
They get a certificate
my
of
soapbox.
completion.
If they get
Yeah.
a certificate of completion, then all of their
jeez.
past sins are wiped out.
there's
Oh.
nothing more important, right? I tell you.
That's
Right.
like online ethics training.
Yeah.
Okay, good time. Let's dive in to the Alamo.
Yes.
If you were not with us last week, let me briefly bring you up to date. We struck out on a campaign about saving the Alamo, and you may be going, from what? And I will tell you from what, and I'm glad you asked. We are saving it from the New World Order. We are saving it from AKA deep state individuals who would prefer to take down all our monuments and wipe out all of our history so that we don't have a cornerstone by which to brace ourselves as Americans. The Alamo is a huge piece of this American history.
Yes, it
it's
is.
not just a Texas thing. Almost everybody in this country at one time in your life has heard the phrase, remember the Alamo. And I would venture a guess have some understanding of what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're doing, it is under attack. It is under attack by a commission headed by a fellow by the name of George P. Bush, George Prescott Bush, who is the son of Jeb Bush. Beginning to ring some bells, folks?
Oh, yeah.
Of the famous Bush, not the bean, but the political family. All right?
Oh yeah, Bush's being.
And we've posted it on the Facebook page. He has been advertised and been given accolades for being the first Mexican land commissioner in Texas. His mother is Mexican, and he got himself elected as Texas land commissioner. Due to what he's trying to do to the Alamo, his re-election is already in jeopardy.
Yes, it is.
And I hope this show, and hopefully ones like it, will continue to keep that re-election in jeopardy.
Yeah, we really need
Because
to.
It is a very, and he's not acting alone
No, he's not
by
acting
any
wrong, but-
means, but he is what we call the tip of the spear. He's the front guy.
And isn't
You
his
know?
program called Reimagine the Alamo?
You got it.
Now you figure it out yourself, folks.
Well,
what that means.
it's the same thing that they do with bills that come out of Congress. They are
name it.
exactly the opposite of the name.
That's right.
You know, the Affordable Care Act,
Yeah.
aka Obamacare. You know, the Citizens, whatever it is, Financial Protection Act, which is nonsense. So that's why we are doing these shows about the Alamo, and it's not, we're not trying to be, just because it happens to be in our backyard, front yard, you know, downtown San Antonio, puts us very, very close to the action, but we need to bring you into it and get you involved. You know, go out to Facebook, and we're going to have some of these folks on as guests that are conducting the fight against reimagining the Alamo. I don't intend in any way, shape, or form to provide airtime to the other side. It is not my intention to be fair and balanced in this fight.
That's right.
Because they have a lot more money, a lot bigger voice, a lot more media. So we're just not going to do that. But I will be providing you with resources that'll let you get involved on a nationwide basis. And believe me, folks, this is your fight. I mean, as we explain the history of the Alamo to you and let you know everything about it, you'll understand that it was a major footprint and turning point for the United States of America.
Yes, it was. Not
just the state of Texas. And it happened right when Uncle Bocce was just talking about 1836. And he was talking about Texas trying very hard to become a state during this time because we were in a major fight with our neighbors to the south who had reneged on their original offer to the Texians, as they were called at the time. And it all it didn't culminate at the Alamo, but the Alamo became the spark that drove the Texans to finally defeat the Mexicans and push them back across the border, back south. At the time, the Texas-Mexico border was the Nueces River, which is considerably inside what is currently the border at the Rio Grande. I don't know how many miles it is, 50 to 100 miles.
It's quite a bit, yeah.
It's quite a
way.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a lot of land.
You can pull up it's dry desert, but still, it's a lot of land. So we not only pushed them back across the original border, we went that extra mile, as Texans are prone to do. That's me thumping my chest. And pushed them back over to the Rio Grande.
Yeah, or as they call it, the Rio
bigger
Bravo.
river.
The what?
The bigger river, like way back.
Yeah, the biggest
right.
one that we could find.
The big, okay, that's big enough. Yep. Put you over there.
As far away as we could. So let's talk a little bit about what happened. What have you done any homework, or are you doing your homework on the presidency? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing on the presidency, but I'm trying to make myself aware of what's going on.
Okay.
With the Alamo.
So the Alamo was originally called what?
San Antonio de Valero.
Close.
Something like that.
You got all the words.
That's a good one.
Talk amongst yourselves.
It was a mission.
Yeah.
It was a church, what it was.
I've heard that too about the mission.
It was called the Mission San Antonio de Valero.
De Valero.
Okay. And one of our largest oil companies in town is named
Valero.
Valero.
That's right.
Go figure.
I used to work at their credit union.
So it was a mission. It was a Christian mission, and as they say in the history books, in the neighborhood, in the area of what is now called San Antonio. It's only, and the challenge to it is, it attracts between 2.5 and 3 million visitors a year. Pretty good.
That's a
good
good
lot.
number.
And a lot of people, because of movies that starred John Wayne and called The Alamo, and there was one prior to that, and
Even current day, they've been more.
there was one called 13 Days of Glory, I think, that was about the 13 days at the Alamo. Everything about Davy Crockett, Daniel Boone, I mean, all the things about the Alamo are just bigger than life itself. I mean, when you think of it, you think of just huge, big, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's a little bitty church. I mean, it's just never was that big. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, you would think that the way they talk about the fight, I mean, the Texians were only 130 some odd men.
Wow.
Up against, we don't know, because, the record's somewhere between 1,500 and 1,800 heavily well-armed Mexican army people.
Federales,
Yeah.
or whatever they were called.
So, I mean, but you still, everybody thinks of the Alamo, just, it literally is bigger than life. And even, I mean, there's an awful lot of people when you walk through the front doors that have to duck. It's not that big. But it's about the presence. It's about the, what am I trying to, the symbolism for one, yes, but the aura, the aura that it projects when you are there. I mean, I'm telling you, if you've never been there, it should be very much high on your bucket list to go to the Alamo and walk through it and walk on the grounds and just pick up the aura of what's going on, because this was a major touching point of the United States of America and what we stood for as a country.
Yes.
At least Texans like to think that, as well as people from Tennessee, because an awful lot of the folks who died at the Alamo were originally from Tennessee.
And some of them are actually buried there, right?
Oh,
in the Alamo?
Yes,
Yeah.
and in the surrounding areas. It's about a 4.5. The whole thing was about 4.5 acres. Is all there was to it. And for your information, it's not near San Antonio. It is smack dab in the middle
Right downtown.
of downtown San Antonio.
Yes.
And a lot of stuff has grown up around it that may or may not be pleasant to look at, and
Right.
it's that's just the way it is. But the 4.5 acre park that is the Alamo itself, it has maintained pretty good integrity for a very long time. It was owned and operated. It's always been owned by the state of Texas, but it was operated by the Daughters of the
Republic.
of the Republic, the Republic, and the Republic being Texas.
Yeah,
right.
And they did a wonderful job.
They did a fabulous job.
They did. They really did.
And we should mention who's the singer that gave him $100 million worth of
Phil
artifacts.
Collins.
Phil Collins, not even a Texan. He donated $100 million worth of Alamo artifacts. He's a big fan of the Alamo. There are some strings
How
attached,
interesting. Yeah.
that they had to build, and so they're building they built a museum
That's right.
for it to be displayed, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
Awesome.
So, it has a worldwide following. It being the building, but but it's more of the essence of what the building stood for.
Yeah. And it stood for a lot, too. And it was the center point of culture and civilization for San Antonio, wasn't it? Right?
Yeah.
It
One of
really
them.
was.
One of them, but the major one, yes.
Yeah, the major, because it was
Right.
right downtown.
Because this area that in and around San Antonio is just rampant with missions.
Yes.
And churches and old timey.
Side.
Yeah, there's 4 or 5 of them
There's
down there
5 of them.
that were just turned over to the
UN.
United Nations. And that's what we don't want to happen to the Alamo.
That's right.
So, but then recently, the Daughters of the Republic found that they really couldn't afford and they couldn't raise the money to keep the Alamo up in the manner that it needed to be kept up. And so the state of Texas took it over and turned it over to the Texas Land Management. And that's where George P. Bush came in. The Texas Land Commissioner is an elected office.
Yes.
The guy that heads up that office.
Yeah.
Just to give some current history on what's going on.
Exactly.
So think about this. The building itself and the fight that went on at the Alamo. I mean, we lost. We didn't just lose. We got massacred. And literally massacred.
Right.
They killed everybody. That was part of the deal. That was the way General Santa Anna operated. that took no prisoners whatsoever. But even in what that did was that galvanized the resistance
So, yeah.
or the fight for justice and liberty. And all of a sudden, instead of having 150 or 200 or 250 men, we had 800 to 1,000 who joined into the army and tracked down Santa Anna down towards the coast in an open air field, and that's where we defeated the Mexicans and declared Texas independence had already been declared.
Right.
Texas independence had been declared.
1936, wasn't it?
Well, no, 18. 18.
Oh, gee whiz, I'm really going. 18. Yeah.
It was actually declared during the Battle of the Alamo.
Texas, right.
The Texas independence, they declared independence from Mexico during the Battle of the Alamo. So we're free. We may lose this fight, but we're going to win this war, is basically what they said. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yes, talk among you.
Carry the show. Carry the show.
Yeah,
I'm looking.
Okay. Yeah, he's looking at his list there.
Yeah.
These are good.
There's an article here that I'm just beginning to skim the surface on the research. One of them is a place called history.com, and obviously if you go out to Google and just Google the Alamo, you're going to get pages and pages and pages and pages. But you need to read through those. I'm going to bring a lot of those pages up, and I'm also going to do Google Scholar to get some of the scholarly things like I did when it came time for Thanksgiving, because not everything Wikipedia tells you is the absolute fact.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
It's a good reference, but
it's a good reference.
Be careful.
And it was the easiest points for them to find.
Yeah.
But you need to.
You can't use it in a lot of academic papers at school.
That's right.
No,
Sure.
here's a phrase that you need to write down in the audience. You need to write this down. When it comes to information of any kind, particularly in the internet age, you need to trust but verify.
Yes, sir.
Go to a good, solid location, trust what they say, but verify it with one or two other resources.
That usually
And
knocks it out then if
Exactly.
once you verify. It's true or
So,
not.
so we got 10 things every Texan should know, most of which we have just covered in a conversational manner. Here's one that I think is important. A lot of people don't know. More than one battle was fought at the Alamo. The Battle of the Alamo in 1861 was fought following Texas secession from the Union.
How about that?
Interesting.
Just thought you might want to know that. Blah, blah, blah. And a few months following the devastating loss at the Alamo, General Sam Houston and his 800 Texans defeated Santa Anna's Mexican army near San Jacinto, leading directly to their independence. So we're gonna keep drilling down. I would submit to you and suggest that you go do some of your drill down. Go out to our blog, send Uncle Bocce a note. Add some points. Go out to the front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.